Alright, what is going on, everybody? This is Trudger MC, and today you saw the title of the video. Yes, this is going to be a ranking of the live-action Batman movies. Now a disclaimer here, I'm not going to include Batman v Superman because I've never considered Batman v Superman to be a a Batman movie. It was kind of like Man of Steel 2 plus Dark Knight Returns plus Death of Superman plus Setup of Justice League. It's like so many things, but I didn't really consider it to be a Batman movie. I was like, we need a solo Ben Affleck Batman movie, and that would have been a Batman movie, but we didn't end up getting one of those. But what we did get is these movies right here. And so I figured we'll take a break from looking at the action figures behind these, maybe for a little bit, and actually looking at the movies for themselves. And so we have D tier all the way through S tier. And yeah, so we're just going to go straight into this, and yeah, we're going to start off with Batman 1966. Now, what I find interesting about this movie is that it is a very good continuation of the 60s series. Like if you've seen an episode of the 60s show or you've seen this movie, then you already know what this is about. It kind of has its own specific vibe to it, and I think it's okay for what it is. I actually prefer watching certain episodes of the show over watching the movie. I like certain episodes more. So I think the movie is okay, but it's not really my favorite. So I don't really watch it a whole lot. I don't really find myself drawn to it, and so just by extension, it has to go here. The movie itself is well put together, but it's just not for me. It's not personally my taste. So if you like it, that's totally fine. I'm just saying that me personally, it's not really my thing. So that's why it's going right there. No real further explanation needed. Now, if you have seen, I did this a really long time ago, but I did a video where I ranked all of the Tim Burton movies, basically right as soon as Beetlejuice came out. And if you've seen that video, then you know what I'm going to say about this one. This is my favorite Tim Burton movie, and I think I even said in the video that it's my favorite Batman movie. And if I remember correctly, I said that I would explain why. So the reason why Batman 89 is my favorite Batman movie is because it's really unique that it basically shows the world of Gotham City from more of a civilian perspective, that you see the reporters, you see the everyday civilians that are there with, Batman and wondering, is Batman even real or is he just a myth? And then when you have the Joker that comes onto the scene, people are like, what do we think of this guy? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? What's he going to do? Is he actually going to carry out the threats that he says he's going to do? And then, can we trust Batman? And so, there's a really interesting, civilian type perspective with this movie, and I really appreciate that. And on top of that, Michael Keaton is easily my favorite Batman, just because he understood the tragedy of the character. And it's yes, I know that he kills people, and a lot of people say it's Michael Keaton was a good Batman because he kills people. And I understand that, why people would be like, I'm not interested in a Batman that kills people. But for me, I feel like this movie really understood the tragedy of the character, and Batman kind of feels like he's pressed up against a wall of, I don't have any other choice. I don't know how else to deal with crime, so I'm going to do this. And this was at a time when you had stuff like The Dark Knight Returns, which was a grittier Batman story. That was pretty new when this movie came out, and so the grittier, more violent Batman, that was, the people that knew Batman in the comics at the time, they were like, yeah, he's like that. So I feel like that's accurate. And then Jack Nicholson's Joker was just so much fun in this movie. You can tell that he really enjoyed the performance and all of that. So yeah, it's if you haven't seen this movie, I definitely recommend checking it out. Now, I will say it is quite a bit different than a traditional superhero movie. If you're expecting it to be The Dark Knight or something like that, you're probably going to be disappointed. But I just really like it for, it being a unique superhero experience that's more from the civilian perspective, and really understanding, I guess, sort of the motivation and the aftermath of like what's going on instead of just the action. So that's why I like that. Now, as far as Batman Returns, I think I also said what I'm about to say my in my Tim Burton ranking video, where I basically said that I think that Batman Returns is a very good Tim Burton superhero movie, but I don't think it's a very good Batman movie. Um, because he took a lot of creative liberties with Catwoman and the Penguin, and Catwoman I actually liked. I like that she's just absolutely nuts. But Penguin being like this mutant bird man who lives in the sewers and all of that, like I thought that was a little weird. His design was cool, but he was kind of weird. And then they also like he created an original character with Max Schreck and made him the villain, and all of that's like I don't really get it. I do really like the vibe and the soundtrack for this movie. Like this movie does have my all-time favorite movie soundtrack. I think Danny Elfman absolutely knocked the music out of the park with this movie. The music is just phenomenal. But yeah, it's like overall, it's like, do I find myself rewatching it? I only really rewatch it around Christmas time because the movie takes place around Christmas time. So I watch it then. It's like, oh, I have to watch one of my favorite Christmas movies, So I watch it then, but like other than that, it's like this isn't really my personal favorite. But I will give it a solid B tier. I think B tier is okay for that. And then we move on to this movie here, Batman Forever. Now, here's the thing here. Here's the thing. I know there are going to be some people that are like, this movie is absolutely terrible. I personally, here's the thing with me. I actually saw Batman and Robin before I saw Batman Forever. And so I saw Batman and Robin and I was like, oh, and my first impression was, oh, this movie's terrible. And so I went into watching Batman Forever thinking this movie's going to be terrible too. But then when the credits started rolling after my first viewing, I was like, that movie was actually pretty good. I was like, I like this. And so I've never understood the hate with this movie. It's like, I like this. It's like they did do things a little bit sillier, especially in contrast to this movie here, because this movie was very dark. But they did do things a little bit silly, but they also took time to explore the psychology of Bruce Wayne, of why does he feel so attached to, I have to become Batman? Like why does he feel so insistent on that? And could things actually be better if he isn't Batman? And so they explored that. And then they also had the character of Robin, even though they gave him the name and origin of Dick Grayson, they gave him a personality more like Jason Todd, where he's like, I have to go for revenge. I have to kill the person that killed my family. And exploring that of like, no, you don't. And, you have a choice to make and you can be a better person and all of that. And then the villains, Riddler is just ridiculous, but in the best way possible, because essentially Jim Carrey Riddler is like a 90s version of Frank Gorshin Riddler from the 60s. That's essentially what they did. They took like 60s Riddler and put him into the 90s, and then that's what you got with Jim Carrey Riddler. So no complaints there. He's completely over the top, but that was definitely the intention. And now Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face. I think Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face got way too much hate because people say that it's like he's too silly and he's basically just Riddler. It's like, no, he's not. If you actually pay attention to this movie, you'll see that there is the duality of the character. Like, the first scene that this guy's in, he's flipping a coin trying to decide, am I going to kill this bank security guard guy? And he's actually kind of intimidating there. So Two-Face actually has a lot more complexity than a lot of people give credit for, and yeah. So I'm a really big fan of it. On top of that, I really like the design of the Batcave in this movie. I really like the way the Batcave looks, and the Panther suit, the main suit in this movie. I like the look of that. I know it has the stuff on it, the nipples, but I personally don't. I don't really care for that, but I like everything else about the suit. So yeah, it's like there's a lot of fun action in this movie. It has some funny moments, it has some serious moments, and yeah, it's like overall this movie's really solid. So I don't get why so many people hate it. all that much. I think they might have had it confused with this movie, and we'll get to that soon enough. Um, but yeah, so with Batman Forever, I don't like it as much as this movie right here, because I kind of said it's like this is my favorite, but this is easily my second favorite. Like, if I couldn't have this movie, I would definitely choose this one. And we need the 3 hour cut of this movie. We need everybody to see it so that everybody can understand basically that this movie's really good. So that's what I have to say about Batman Forever. And now we move on to the second Joel Schumacher Batman movie, Batman and Robin. And here is the thing with Batman and Robin. So I went into this, my first time watching this movie, I went into it knowing what people said, of being like, oh, people say this movie's really bad, so I'm probably not going to like it. And my first time watching this movie, I basically just thought about what other people said, like, this movie's bad. So I saw it and I'm like, okay, yeah, this movie's bad. And I just kind of left it at that. But then after a while, it's like, you know what, maybe I should give this movie a second go around. And my second time watching it, I was like, this movie is one of those instances where it's so bad that it's good. It's like, if you've ever seen Sean Chandler talks about, he's basically like a movie guy, on YouTube. He talks about this movie, and he basically said that it's like, they missed the mark so much that they hit another target. And so it's basically like a thing where it's like, they were trying to do way too much stuff, and they ended up making something that's ridiculous, and it's like really, really stupid, really funny, but like it like unintentionally, and then that makes it even funnier. So like, this movie does a lot of stuff really weird. And a lot of people make fun of it because of that. That's like, why does Batman have a credit card? And like all of that, like, why are Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy teaming up, and all of that, and why is Batgirl just a completely different character, and all of that stuff. But the way that I see it is that this movie actually did do some things right. Batman has a lot of humanity in this movie. A lot of people like criticize George Clooney for being Batman. I think George Clooney did the best with what he could. And spoiler alert for the ending of the movie, but the way that he deals with Mr. Freeze is just perfectly done. That he's like, you have the opportunity to save lives. You don't have to take them. You don't have to be so vengeful. You have opportunity right now to save a life. And so be the good person that you are. And, he didn't kill Mr. Freeze. He didn't beat him up. He didn't do anything like that. He approached him, and he's like, you can do things differently. You can turn your life around. And so that's like showing the humanity with Batman. It's like, he's not just some agent of vengeance where he just beats everybody up and calls it a day. It's like, he tries to save people. That's why he constantly puts them in Arkham Asylum. And so you see that on display here. And you also have, some other things of like, it being very comic accurate with, like Mr. Freeze, falling into, like having an accident with, this cryonic vapor or whatever that makes him, only able to survive in cold environments. And you have Poison Ivy that was essentially killed, and then she was more or less resurrected by plants. And so it's very comic accurate in that. It doesn't try to make things super realistic, and that's what I like about that. It feels like, it's a comic world. It's not like super grounded in reality like we'll see with these other movies here. So, yeah, it's like, I like how it knows it's a comic book movie, and because of that, it knows that it's like, okay, well, comic book movies are fun, and they have a lot of action, and sometimes the action doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so that's why you have things of people getting thrown like 1,000,000 feet into the air, and, like, the sound effects are kind of like extensions of what they did here with, like, the sound effects, like, incorporated with the punches and all of that, so it's kind of like what they tried to do there. And so I can't fault the movie for that, because it's like, it's trying to be a comic book movie and trying to do the best of what they could, because essentially Joel Schumacher was told, we want a 2-hour toy commercial. And he tried to make a narrative out of that, and he kind of did the best with what he got. So all that to say, this movie gets way too much hate. And I actually find myself rewatching it a lot. And I like it more than Batman Returns. And so I'm actually going to put it in A tier. It's definitely not S tier, I will tell you that right now. But it is definitely an A tier pick for me. I personally really like it, and I think it gets a little bit too much hate. And really, the best thing that I can say is if you don't know what to think of it, either watch it again or just watch it for the first time for yourself and evaluate it based off of that. Don't worry about what other people say, because other people have said, this is the worst movie ever, don't watch this, it's terrible. And it's like, you're not going to know that unless you see it for yourself. And so that's what I say. It's like, if you don't know what to think about this movie, watch it for yourself and then tell me. Like, let me know in the comments what you think of that. But only base it off of what you have seen, what you have understood about it, not what other people have said. So, there we go. And now we move on to the Christopher Nolan trilogy. And we're going to start off with Batman Begins. I really like Batman Begins. It feels like it's definitely more realistic compared to these previous other movies that had been made before, and that was kind of the intention. But it still feels like a comic book movie. Like, Gotham City in this movie looks completely different than how it looks in its sequels, and I'm not entirely sure why, but I really like the way Gotham City looks in this movie. And then on top of that, you have the Scarecrow, and Scarecrow is my favorite Batman villain. And they had him as like a primary threat in the first movie, and they had him as like a secondary character in the other two movies, which I thought was cool. But they had him there, and you see him as Jonathan Crane, but then also as the Scarecrow, and I really liked that. And then you also had the character of, Ra's al Ghul. He's called Ra's al Ghul in the movie, of basically him like initially being a mentor, but then him having like the opposite worldview of Batman and being like, yeah, the city's broken, let's destroy it. It's really interesting having that dynamic there. It's like, that's what Batman could have been if he didn't have his morals with him. And so I think that's really cool, and I really like it. The action is cool. I'm not the biggest fan of the Batsuit, but I like the humor. Like, this movie actually has quite a bit of humor in it. With Lucius Fox interacting with Bruce Wayne and all that. It's like, there's some funny stuff in this movie, and it's really cool, and I like it. I'm a fan of Batman Begins. Now, I would probably put it about here, and there is going to be another movie that's going to go in between those, but for now it's up there. All right. Now we're going to talk about The Dark Knight. Now, I can already feel the dislikes pouring in and the negative comments and all of that with what I'm about to say here. Now, before I give my 2 cents on this movie, let me explain to you my introduction to this movie, okay? My introduction to this movie. This was like a million years ago, but this is a very long time ago. But basically, I was with my parents and we were on vacation, and we were going down to Lower Michigan to, spend time with some family and some friends down there and all of that. And we were spending the night in a hotel, and, we're just kind of there in the hotel, and we are like flipping through the TV channels of seeing, oh, what's on? What do we have on TV for tonight? And one of the channels was playing The Dark Knight. And I had never seen the movie before. I didn't even really hear anything about it. I knew that the movie existed, but I didn't know anything about it. So I saw a scene of like Batman falling down. He was like falling down from a building or something. I was like, oh, there's a Batman movie. Okay, I'll watch the Batman movie. But what I didn't know is I caught the end of the movie. Okay? The end of the movie where Two-Face dies, but they decide but Harvey Dent lived, he died a hero. So they decide he's not Two-Face, he's Harvey Dent. We're going to remember him as Harvey Dent. And then Batman decides that I lived long enough to see myself become the villain. So he decides, I'm the bad guy. So I'm not a hero. I want you to consider me the enemy. I want you to chase after me. And, I'm the bad guy here. So let Two-Face be the hero and let me become the villain. And I watched that and I was like, what is happening here? Because I didn't have any prior context, okay? That was my introduction to this movie, was like, what's going on? Two-Face is the good guy and Batman is the bad guy, and we're supposed to call Batman the bad guy now? It's like, what is this movie? And then several years later, I ended up watching this movie in its entirety, and it's like, okay, the ending makes more sense now, but I couldn't get that image out of my head of like, I already know how this movie ends though. This movie ends with Two-Face being a good guy and dying, and Batman being the bad guy. It's like, what happens here? And so I have never, because of that, I have never been able to like this movie. I can appreciate it for its action and its practical effects. The practical effects are very good. The acting is very good, especially with Heath Ledger, Joker. Like, he was just phenomenal in that movie. But it being a superhero movie and it being a Batman movie, I have never liked it. I can appreciate, like I said, I can appreciate the movie for what it is, but this is not my movie, bro. This is not my movie at all. So if you like this movie, you can tell me that's like, I like this movie. This is my favorite, and I don't like your list because you're gonna have it near the bottom, and that's okay. But for me, I'm gonna have to put it right about here. I'll definitely rewatch it over this one here. I just don't find myself watching this. But yeah, it's like I can appreciate the action, and there are a couple scenes that I like, especially the "I'm not wearing hockey pads" scene. I really like that one. So yeah, but it's like it's not for me. And then we'll move on to The Dark Knight Rises. Now I know that a lot of people say that The Dark Knight Rises is good, but not as good as The Dark Knight, and I would agree. I'm gonna put it right here next to The Dark Knight there. Um, just below it. And here's the thing. It's like this movie was really close to being good. Like, they set up Bane as being like this absolute monster. It's like this guy is going to tear Batman in half. And he more or less does. He breaks his back and then it's like, okay, we're done here. And then he's like, now I can execute my plan. And so you're wondering, it's like, what is Batman going to do? And that was really cool. And they had Catwoman in there, but they like did like a modernized, like realistic version of Catwoman, and I thought that was really cool. And then you have like Batman deciding, it's like, I need to do this, but I can only be the hero one more time, and then I'm done. Basically like that kind of thing. It's like, I thought that was interesting. And then they ruined it. They ruined it by having Bane basically be a henchman. It was like a plot twist, last minute plot twist that, oh, Bane wasn't the one behind it at all. He was just a henchman. And then they immediately kill him off. It's like, what was that? Bane is one of my all-time favorite Batman villains. And so seeing that of like, they had a really interesting, really cool version of Bane, and then they immediately wrote him off last minute of, he's just a henchman, he's dead now, don't worry about him. So it's like, I don't know what they were thinking with that, but yeah, so I feel like if they hadn't done that, if they actually stuck with Bane being the main villain and they just got rid of the whole Talia al Ghul thing, I would have been totally fine with this. I probably would have had this movie higher, but just that one thing, it's like, not really my thing. But yeah, so I like the movie, but I can't really like it all that much just because they kind of didn't know what they were doing there. But that's okay. And then we finish off with The Batman, and I'd like to put its sequel on here, The Batman Part 2, but that isn't going to release for another 2,000 years. So I don't know what the plan is with that. But yeah, so basically it's like here we are with The Batman, and I know that some people don't like it because they're like, it's too much of a crime drama and not enough of a Batman movie. Here's the thing though. Batman is known as being a very good detective, okay? Like he's known as being a detective. And so it being a detective Batman story totally works. And it took a lot of inspiration from Seven, which is I wouldn't say it's like one of my all-time favorite movies, but it is a movie that I like very much. So it took a lot of inspiration from Seven, and it basically made it like Seven as a Batman story. It's like Seven mixed with Batman Arkham Origins. And I think that is so cool. Because you have Batman that's 2 years into his career, he's younger, he's angrier, he's more violent, and at the end he becomes more of a hero. I like that. Like, it was basically the opposite of The Dark Knight. Because in The Dark Knight, it's like he started off as a hero, but then he ends being the villain. It's like, this is kind of the opposite of that with this movie here. And you get like a really interesting version of Riddler and Penguin and Catwoman. It's like they're really interesting versions of that. and you can tell it's like this movie is, this universe is not done. And then not long after that, they released The Penguin, and The Penguin was just phenomenal. Like, my goodness. The Penguin show was so good. And so that was, created off of this. So I don't think the show would have been as good if not for this movie, like, laying the groundwork. So it's like, this movie has done a lot, and this universe isn't done. At least I hope it's not. They better make a sequel. I know it's gonna take a million years for the sequel to come out, but I hope that they do make it at some point. And yeah, so it's like, I really like this movie. I think it's really cool. And yeah, I like it. I like the action. I like the story. I like the characters and all of that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right there. I don't like it as much as these two over here, but I do prefer it over Batman Begins. And so yeah, that is my list. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting list there. And I know that a lot of you are probably going to disagree with me. I'm sure about that. Some people are probably going to be like, dude, you got this completely wrong. This list should be backwards, I don't know. But yeah, so that was what I had. And this is my list, and this is the list that I'm going to. That's what I said, and I'm sticking to it, It's one of those things. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, then do be sure to leave a like. If you agree with me to any extent, really, then you can leave a like. If you don't agree with me, like, at all, I guess you can leave a dislike. That's okay, too. Let me know in the comments what you think of my opinion. It's like, if you agree, if you disagree, and then to what extent, if you want to be like, I like what you said about this and this, but I don't like that, you can really share as much as you want. That's all good with me. But yeah, it's like, if you want to see more content like this, you can subscribe, and I do plan to make some more videos like this where I rank things and rate things and all of that. So it's like, do be sure to stay tuned for that if you're interested. But that's all I have for today. So other than all of that, I do hope that you enjoyed, and I do hope that I will see you all later. Goodbye.